I don't know what else more to say about Larkin. I could say many more things, but I'm taking up his time. Larkin, come on. You know what they say? The most dangerous thing you do is put a microphone in front of a Baptist preacher.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for coming out. I appreciate it. Thank you, Hi, for the introduction, and I appreciate that. What's that? It is on. Thank you for reminding me about that. And I left my speech, and so I had to do this from the heart, but then I found a copy on my phone. And so, thank God for that. But I appreciate y'all coming out, and it's good to finally put some faces, people we've met on social media, and it's good to reconnect with you, Miss Connie, Dennis, and I appreciate all of you. Hi is our historian. He is a wise man. I'm so glad that he is on our board, and he's a tremendous help. And I think he was instrumental in getting this to happen here. So I've already been introduced, but I kind of want to talk about myself a little bit, so you know me a little bit better. My name is Larkin Jackson. I'm the youth pastor at South Shore Baptist Church, right here on Transcontinental. And I've been in the city for about 15 years now, and I call it home. I've lived everywhere. By the time I was 20, I'd moved 22 different times in my life. My dad was a pastor. And so I've lived all across the country, Midwest, the Gulf Coast, but this is home. This is where I planned, this is where I've started my family, and I have 3 children, a wonderful wife, and this is what I want my kids to grow up in a good place, and I'm glad to be here. I want to, before I go any further, I want to thank y'all for having this meeting here. I want to thank you for continuing on the Tea Party, and that's just tremendous. I tell you what, it's good to see a movement that hasn't stopped yet, and you know, God wants some. I'm not going to preach to you, I promise. I did not bring a Bible up here, but it's written on my heart, and but God just wants some men to stand in the gap, and we need to stand in the gap for the future generation. And let me tell you why I got this started. In December 15th, 2023, I held my son in my arms, and he's my only son, and I had this thought, one day I hope he's a pastor. Now, I'm a pastor, his grandfather's a pastor, his great-grandfather's a pastor. So you see what I want for my children what I have. And I wondered in my heart as I was there in Kenner and looking into my child's eyes, I wondered, will America be around for him? And I am a great complainer. Pastors make some good complainers. And we know how to complain. And I can tweet and I can complain about our government, but I did nothing. I was on the sidelines for many years because I would let the politicians do what they do, and I would complain and do my job as a voter. But it's time to do more than just be a voter. We have to be activists because they're coming after us. I'm getting ahead of my speech, but that was the jump start for me to say I need to get involved, and so I've been involved. I met some great people like Hi and others who had this wonderful idea. But let me go ahead and start off here. I want to say this: we are 2 distinct nations already. This is from October the 18th at the No Kings March. This lady here, she's doing this signal right here, and she's pretending a gun is going off on her neck. What does that represent? Well, it represents what happened to Charlie Kirk. And so we're distinctive people. This is not somebody that I want to live in the same country with. We have 2 distinct cultures. We have our own music. We have our own social media. The liberals have Blue Sky, and we have Getter, and we have Truth Social. We have 2 different banks. There's patriotic banks now. The American Old Glory Bank. We have 2 different phone carriers out there now. You know, you have the mainstream, but there's a liberal phone carrier. There's a patriotic phone carrier, and so the business world is seeing that we're separating, and we need to realize that we're separating as well. So we're 2 distinct nations, and of course you saw this recently, the text messages by the Democratic candidate Jay Jones. This was actually text messages that was discovered recently, but they happened in 2022, where he was speaking of the Republican Republican politician, and he said this: 3 people, 2 bullets, Gilbert, Hitler, and Pol Pot. He said Gilbert, referring to the Republican, gets 2 bullets in the head.
Right.
Wow.
And that's their language, and
Wow.
thankfully he's going down in the polls. But that is who the Democrats are putting forth for people to vote on. And so the left has taken over, and the far left has taken over in the Democratic Party. They're gone. And so this is someone I don't want to share a country with. How can we live with these people? We thought that after Charlie Kirk, and they came out and said we should tone it down, that they would tone it down. We never toned it up. Our side did not tone it up. They did. Nicole Wallace, NBC host and former GOP strategist, turned left-leaning commentary, said this: opponents should be eradicated like cancer. That sounds like Hitler to me. And so how can we be in the same country with people like this? How do I trust this person with my child's future? I want the same American traditional biblical ideals that I grew up with. I want that for my kids. I think we want that for the next generation. This person's not going to give it to us. This was said yesterday on MSNBC by Representative Jim Hines, a U.S. congressman out of Connecticut. And he said this in referencing Trump killing the narco-terrorists who are putting drugs into our country. He said there will be a Democratic president someday, and all my MAGA friends who are cheering on these illegal killings, that's how he calls it, need to imagine who gets killed when President Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says it doesn't matter what the law says. She's going to do what she's going to do. So they're already preparing. In their minds, they're preparing. There's going to be another Democratic president. God bless Trump. I'm glad that he's in office. I'm glad that we have him. But Trump is going to be gone. Another Democrat will eventually come to power. And when that happens, what do we think is going to happen? Under Biden, they arrested us.
Right.
Under the next president, what will they do? And every time we go to the federal polling booth and we press who we want, we're rolling the dice on our lives. And that's where we're at. And I hate to be in that place. I love America. All right? There's only a couple times I cry. I cry in church because God blesses my heart, and I cry when the national anthem's played. I'm American as American can be. All right? I love the red, white, and blue. But we have to continue the red, white, and blue, and we have to continue America, not with these people, because they won't even allow us to speak. They will shoot us. And so that's the sad fact of it. In a YouGov poll in this past June, said of Americans said 40% believe that civil war is likely. That's on the very or somewhat column in the next decade. I just polled my church, and everyone I spoke to in my church, people I know, they said, yeah, we're headed towards civil war. I do not want to be fighting on the streets with anybody. If I have to defend my family, I will. But I don't want anyone to experience that, and we don't need a civil war. But that's the path that we're headed down. Maybe there's a chance where we avoid that. I'm praying that every day. But in the meantime, what is something that we can do now to change our country? Because federal elections it's a roll of the dice. We don't know who's going to get in there. Let me tell you what Jefferson said. We are in Jefferson Parish, Louisiana. All right, so let's talk about what Thomas Jefferson said. Thomas Jefferson said this in 1803. He said, the future inhabitants of the Atlantic and Mississippi states will be our sons. This is after the Louisiana Purchase. He said, God bless them both and keep them in union if it be for their good, but separate if it be better. I think it's better that we separate. What do I have in common with the California? What do I have in common with the East Coast? I don't have much in common with them. Not at all. All right? They worship another God than I do. All right? Based off their feelings, they produce policy. Feelings come and feelings go. All right, that's what happens if you base policy off of feelings. He also said this, Thomas Jefferson, to a letter to Dr. Priestley in 1804. He said, "Whether we remain in one confederacy or form into Atlantic and the Mississippi confederacies, I believe not very important to the happiest of either part. Those of the Western Confederacy will be as much our children and descendants as those of the Eastern. I feel myself as much identified with that country in future time as with this." So Thomas Jefferson, who wrote our Constitution, foresaw a separation. He foresaw that. You know what happens to empires? They recede. You know what has happened to our bases in Africa? We've left them. We've given them over to China. China moved in. What had happened to Afghanistan? We left it. So as an empire, we're receding. All right. Our own Secretary of War said it's time for us to focus on the Americas, and he's moving troops now closer to America. He's pulling troops out of Eastern Europe now. And so as an empire, we're receding. We have internal struggles here. We're a 50-50 country right now. How can we live and be one nation? We cannot. It's not possible. So this is where I was going to introduce us, but I've already kind of done that. We'll talk about Hi. Hi, thank you for being a part of us. He's a Southern Baptist minister who leads Lamb Ministries. He cares for children. He goes out and I appreciate him very much. And he goes and he helps these needy children. And I'm thankful for him, but he's a part of our team. It's me and him. There's some other volunteers across the state, some even out of state that help us on a weekly basis. So we're very thankful for him. But we're Free Louisiana. Free Louisiana works to ensure that Louisiana peacefully separates herself from the influence of the West and East Coasts. We want a government that is for Louisianans. We want a government that is pro-Louisiana. We champion the preservation of Louisiana values, which is American values and American freedoms. We don't want to work with federal constraints on us. Okay, what are we not? We're not a political party. All right, I'm not running for governor. I would not make a good governor. All right, I'm not running for governor. We're not running for political office. So our role is not to make policy for the future self-governing Republic of Louisiana, which I believe is going to happen in my lifetime. That's for future elected officials. Okay, but our role is as activists, where we're going to encourage and persuade people with power in this state that the best path forward for our citizens is that we leave this union and form a better country. And we can do that on our own, but we can also do that with other states. Let me ask you a question. What happens when the Louisiana legislature votes for a referendum vote, and then we vote as a state and we vote to leave the union? That's electoral votes. What happens if Texas does that? I mean, Texas already has the Republican Party on board with them, all right? And the Texas movement is growing strong. They're the premier independence movement in our country. What happens when Texas goes? Any Republican state that walks away from the union, Republicans will realize we cannot elect another Republican president. And so it's going to be a domino effect. And so we will see a national divorce. That's in our future. It is trending and people are talking about it on Twitter. And when people talk about it, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. This is something that's going to happen in our future. And it's something that we can do. So what have we done as an institution? All right, so we started Free Louisiana formally we launched July of 24. We launched the same week the Trump attempted assassination happened. And so we launched on Wednesday, and that happened Saturday. We were in Newsweek, we were in other major news outlets, but then the story became Trump. And so, but that happened. So in July, we really started going after it. We started working with the Libertarian Party, and we wanted them to be for a referendum. And thankfully, this past January, the Louisiana Libertarian Party voted that they are for a referendum vote for the legislature. So now it's on their platform. They want to push that. And so that's good. And so that's our first step. We want to work with Republicans now and get that on the party plank. And just like Texas, the Texas movement has done, they've got that on the party plank. We want to do that same with Republicans. This past February, we were able to join and have a discussion with the International Self-Determination Summit. And that was a bunch of different self-determination or independence movements that all joined together, and we had a good discussion. And there's plenty of movements around the country. You have Florida, you have New Hampshire, you have California. They're actually pretty good guys over there, believe it or not. You have Texas, of course. You have Alberta. Alberta's in the news. Alberta may be the first state to actually get it on the ballot and remove themselves, okay? And they either want to go independent, a good majority of them want to join the U.S. But I think that we're now in the beginning stages of seeing North America reform boundaries. That's what's happening right now. And that's what I learned at this summit, and it was very interesting. We heard from people all over the place. Cape Town, South Africa. There's even a self-determination movement in Mexico along the border. And so we're entering into this era of self-determination. We're entering into this era of these autonomous states. We have seen that in our own state with New St. George, okay? And they seceded away from Baton Rouge. And that took a decade of work. But they were able to do that. And now their lives are better for it. And they did it for their children. They wanted a better schools for their kids. That's all it was. And they did that for their kids. I want to do the same thing on a state level and move away. And that's not unpatriotic. That is patriotic. We have successfully, this past spring, advocated for sovereignty bills in the legislature. And all we did simply was this. Well, all we did was we have a mailing list that we put out, but we simply made web pages where any Louisiana citizen was able to email, was able to text. It gave them the phone numbers. They were able to call people on the committee where these bills were put forth. We had 3 bills that we supported, and then we were able to get done. Let me check my time here. How much time do I have?
Oh, we have till 8.
Till 8. Okay.
Yes.
Well, I won't be that long.
Okay.
All right. But let me just tell you about the bills we helped get passed. Raymond Cruz put a bill about gold and legal tender. That didn't get passed, but he had a backup bill, and because he had a backup bill, it got passed, but our people was able to advocate for that. We also had a bill done by Jeff Wiley, who is a former sheriff in Livingston Parish. He's a rep now. And basically, Louisiana has a state guard. We have a state guard, and we have National Guard. Not a lot of states have state guards, but we do. Florida just got a state guard. So what's the difference between a state guard and a National Guard? National Guard, they're beholden to the federal government. And so if we have, they're kind of borrowed by the governor, and the governor is commander-in-chief, but the president is the commander-in-chief of all the National Guard. So the state guard is separate. It's not under the federal government. It is under the state of Louisiana. And High is actually about to join up the state guard, I believe, as a chaplain. And so what Jeff Wiley did was he simply put forth a bill that made the same benefits that National Guardsmen get, the state guard would get. So it encouraged Louisiana citizens who are going to join the National Guard to say, why don't we join the state guard instead? And so that was a good bill to get passed. We also support a bill that was able to get passed that helped small Louisiana communities who were under pressure from the federal government. So if the federal government came after a small town Louisiana, they were dealing with small town lawyers. Louisiana now has the power, because this bill was passed, where the Attorney General is able to step in and to defend Louisiana citizens against a powerful federal government. And so those were the 3 bills that we pushed. All those 3 bills got passed, save Representative Cruz's bill, which ended up, he had a backup bill to help gold and silver as legal tender. And then the last thing that we've done is that we were able to launch the Louisiana First Pledge for candidates. And so we're not in the business of crowning different candidates, but we want to find candidates that we can tell people who are interested in our movement. We want to find candidates who are for putting forth this simple language, and that is this. I'll read it here. Here's our pledge. And we ask candidates to sign. It says, the Louisiana First Pledge. It says, I thank God for blessing Louisiana with an honorable history of unique gumbo cultures, fertile soil and waterways, and abundant resources. I pledge to be loyal to the citizenry of Louisiana, never putting the interest of another state, country, or globalist organization above them. Whereas Article 1 of the Louisiana Constitution begins with the words, all government of right originates with the people, is founded on their will alone, and continues in Section 25 with the people of the state have the sole and exclusive right of governing themselves as a free and sovereign state. Therefore, if it's within the power of my office, I pledge to vote in every term of office for legislation that would give the citizen of Louisiana the opportunity to vote on whether or not Louisiana should, for the benefit of every citizen of Louisiana, peacefully withdraw our membership in the Union. If such a referendum shows majority support, I pledge to work to enact the will of the people to the extent of the powers of my office, so help me God. And that's what we put forth. We asked different candidates to do that. We've had some candidates do that. Praise God for that. And we've had some really good conversations with one individual that is currently in the State House who is for independence of Louisiana. And so we're withholding his name right now because we want to gather a good group of people before we announce them. But he's on board, and so I'm very excited about the pledge, and hopefully we'll find some good candidates that will put forth a referendum. This is what the referendum would say. Should Louisiana peacefully withdraw our membership in the Union? I want to put that before every single Louisiana citizen. I think you would be surprised to see how many people are for that. In 2022, there was a poll that went out to a lot of states, and there was one state that was number one in the nation for wanting to withdraw their membership from the Union. That state was Louisiana. You would think other states like Texas, no, it's us. 50% of Louisianans, according to a 2022 poll, want to peacefully withdraw our membership from the Union. And that's something that's encouraging. This is what got me involved with this, seeing we're so close. And so what we want a Brexit-style exit. Just like Great Britain and the United Kingdom was able to withdraw their membership from the European Union, I want that for us. I think that Louisianans know what's best for Louisianans. I think that we know better than somebody 1,000 miles away. Think about this. Laws that you have to abide with, laws that you have to live under, they're influenced by Californians and people in New York. Why would we put ourselves under this tyranny? I do believe that our founding fathers would have rejected this long ago. They would be turning over in their graves. And so we have to do something different here. We have to change it. So what can we do? Okay, well, you can talk about our movement with friends and family. You can encourage others. You need to become an activist. I'm speaking to activists. I'm speaking to people already who are a part of this. But I want to encourage you. You have to get involved. I complained and complained and complained, and nothing happens with complaining. All right? Real story here, okay? I complained one time about a comb being in our church front property. Someone placed a comb there, and I complained all day about that. All my complaining to everybody, no one moved that pesky comb. You know who moved it? Me. And so, you know who, you want to move the needle? You got to put yourself out there. You need to get involved. All right? So you need to dedicate a set time every week for advocacy. That's so important. That's what I've learned. I've been involved since December of 2023, like actively involved. If you don't have a set time every week, then you're not going to do anything. You're just going to complain and make plans. Have a good schedule. All right, I was taught as a young man, have a good schedule, have a piece of paper to write down, this is what you do at this time. Every week on Mondays, I have to advocate for free Louisiana, for independence. So you can also, if you're interested, attend our weekly meetings. There we take actionable items for you to do, to accomplish. All right, and I also actively seek to recruit people for our movement. That would be great. If you need any updates, this is where you could find get on our email list. You can go to freelouisiana.org/get-updates, or you can just scan that nice QR code. God bless QR codes; they're awesome. And so, and if you have any problems with that, I would be happy to help you. I want you on our email list, because the next session is going to happen in the spring, and it's an important session. I want you all to be able to be activated and to be used to influence sovereignty bills. This next session, we're not going to be putting forth a referendum bill, but one day you're going to see a referendum bill in a committee. It's going to start there in the committee. It's going to work its way up, and one day we're going to get the yeas on that, and one day there's going to be a vote where you can vote in an actual vote and say, I want to leave this union. I don't want the influence of Californians over my children's future. We don't need that, okay? They're not like us. We're not like them. So let's peacefully separate. If we don't do this, what will happen? I'm repeating myself, but there will be a civil war. Talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, ask them, do you think a civil war will happen this decade? Well, 40% of the nation, according to a YouGov poll, said that's where we're headed. And if we're talking about it now, God forbid it happen. God forbid it happen. I'm praying it doesn't happen. But in the meantime, I want to encourage you, become an activist and advocate for what you believe in. It's so important that you advocate for what you believe in. Because if we don't speak up, who will? We can't point to others. All right? We have to point ourselves. I have to wake up every morning and say, what has Larkin Jackson done? What has Larkin Jackson done for his children's sake? What has Larkin Jackson done for his God?